Tonight, we journey beyond the edge of everything you've ever known, into a place where time itself begins to lose meaning, where the very concept of before becomes strange and unfamiliar, almost like trying to remember a dream you've never had. If you're ready to explore this infinite mystery with an open heart and a calm mind, then settle in deeply, find your most comfortable position, and let your breath slow with each word you hear. There's no rush here. There's only the gentle unfolding of wonder. Before we venture into the impossible, I want to invite you to do something simple but powerful. If you haven't already, take a moment to turn off any sudden notifications. Adjust your environments so it feels like a private sanctuary, and allow yourself permission to drift slowly through this narrative at whatever pace feels right. There's no test here, no pressure to remember every detail. Think of this as a guided meditation into the very fabric of existence itself. Your only job is to listen, to imagine, and to let your curiosity flow like water finding its own path downward. Now then, let's begin with a question so fundamental, so ancient, that it has echoed through human consciousness since we first looked up at the stars and wondered, what came before? What existed in that infinite moment before the universe decided to be? Most of what we know about the universe comes from a simple observation. Everything is moving away from everything else. When astronomers point their telescopes into the depths of space, they notice that distant galaxies are all rushing outward, away from us and away from each other. If everything is moving apart, then logic suggests that if we reverse time, if we run the cosmic film backward, everything would come together. And together, and together, until finally, all the matter and energy of the universe would converge into a single impossibly hot, impossibly dense point. From this point of infinite concentration, the story goes, an explosion occurred approximately 13.8 billion years ago. We call it the Big Bang. It is the moment, we believe, when time itself began. But here is where the mystery deepens, where your mind might begin to feel that gentle pull of confusion and wonder that is so perfect for sleep to approach. If the Big Bang was the beginning of time, then what does the word before even mean? How can there be a before if time hasn't started yet? It's like asking what's north of the North Pole, or what happened in the year -1. The question seems to fold in on itself, to dissolve into something that our language was never built to describe. This is the threshold we stand upon tonight. On one side of this invisible border lies everything we know: galaxies and stars, planets and light, consciousness and time itself. On the other side, our words begin to fail us. Our intuitions crumble. Even the greatest scientists in the world become, in a certain way, humble and uncertain. Imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of an infinite ocean. You've spent your whole life on land, studying the properties of earth and stone and air. But now you're being asked to describe what it's like to swim in an ocean that has no water, in depths that don't exist yet, under a sun that hasn't ignited. This is roughly the challenge we face when we try to imagine what existed before the Big Bang. And yet, human beings have always been drawn to this mystery. We cannot help but ask. Throughout history, every civilization has developed stories about the moment of creation. From ancient Egypt to indigenous cultures of the Americas, from Hindu philosophy to Aboriginal traditions, humans have always felt the deep pull to understand origin. These stories didn't come from scientific instruments or mathematical equations. They came from something deeper, from an intuitive human need to connect with the mystery, to find meaning in the vast fabric of existence. What's remarkable is that the more we've learned from science, the more it seems we're circling back to the very questions that philosophers and spiritual seekers have been asking for thousands of years. And the closer we look, the stranger and more beautiful and more incomprehensible the universe becomes. Let me walk you through what we currently understand and what we're only beginning to grapple with. Right now, as you listen to these words, photons are passing through your body from distant stars. Atoms in your hands are made from elements forged billions of years ago in the cores of dying stars. You are, in the most literal sense, made of the universe. You are not separate from this question about what came before. You are woven into it. You are a part of this cosmic mystery that we're about to explore together. The Big Bang Theory, despite its name, isn't actually about an explosion in the traditional sense. There was no center point from which things exploded outward into empty space. Instead, what we think happened is far more subtle and far more strange. Imagine space and time as a kind of fabric malleable, capable of stretching and shrinking. In the earliest moment of the universe, this fabric was infinite in its heat and density. Everything that would ever exist, all the matter, all the energy, all the potential for consciousness itself, was compressed into something so extraordinarily small and so extraordinarily hot that our mathematics begins to break down. Here's what makes this so deeply unsettling and beautiful. Our current laws of physics simply don't work in these extreme conditions. We can describe the universe as it was 1 second after the Big Bang. We can describe it as it is now, 13.8 billion years later. But that first moment, that infinitesimal fraction of a second, it remains opaque to us. Our equations want to divide by zero. Our models want to spit out infinity. The universe at its moment of birth is like asking a caterpillar to describe what it's like to be a butterfly while it's still inside the chrysalis. The transformation hasn't completed yet. And this is where the real journey of tonight begins. Because if the Big Bang represents the beginning of time, then asking what came before the Big Bang is, in a sense, asking an impossible question. But human consciousness doesn't accept impossibility easily. We circle around the edges. We think differently. We wonder. And in that wondering, something miraculous happens. We begin to glimpse possibilities that challenge everything we thought we understood. What if, before the Big Bang, there was no time at all? What if time itself is not a fundamental feature of the universe, but rather an emergent property? What if, in the moments before creation, there was only something else entirely? Something we don't yet have the language to describe? This is where we must slow down even further. Let your breathing deepen. Feel the weight of your body against whatever surface holds you. You are safe. You are warm. And you are about to explore the most profound question that consciousness can ask. The journey into what came before requires us to first understand something extraordinary about the universe as it is now. Deep in the quantum realm, the microscopic world of atoms and subatomic particles, the universe behaves in ways that would seem impossible if we didn't have the instruments to prove it's true. And these strange quantum properties, we're beginning to suspect, might hold the key to understanding the very origin of existence. Picture in your mind a single electron, smaller than any human sense could ever directly perceive. This electron doesn't have a definite position. It doesn't have a definite speed. Instead, it exists in what's called a superposition. It's kind of like being in multiple places at the same time, or more accurately, existing in a state of pure potential, where all possible positions and velocities are somehow true simultaneously. The electron is like a ghost moving through a wall, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere until the moment we observe it. This isn't philosophy. This isn't someone being poetic or vague. This is demonstrated, reproducible, tested thousands of times science. When we measure the electron, the superposition collapses. It snaps into a definite position. But the moment before measurement, before observation, the electron was quite literally existing in a cloud of infinite possibility. Now, pause for a moment and let that idea settle into your mind like a stone sinking slowly through deep, quiet water. If the smallest things in the universe exist in states of infinite possibility, then what about the biggest thing? What about the entire universe itself? There's a physicist named Stephen Hawking who had a profound insight, and we're going to explore it slowly because it contains something close to an answer to our original question. Hawking realized that if you apply quantum mechanics, the rules governing the subatomic world, to the universe as a whole, something remarkable happens. You realize that the universe might not have had a singular beginning point at all. Instead, the universe might have emerged from what we could call a quantum superposition. Imagine an endless, infinite well of quantum potential. In this well, universes don't emerge one by one, like bubbles rising in champagne. Instead, they quantum tunnel into existence. They emerge from the mathematical probabilities themselves. The universe we find ourselves in, the one with our stars and planets and life, might be just one possibility among countless others, spontaneously arising from the nature of quantum mechanics itself. But here's where the mystery deepens, where we need to be very careful with our language. In this quantum picture, there is no before in the traditional sense. Time itself is not fundamental. Time is more like an emergent property, like the wetness of water emerges from the interaction of hydrogen and oxygen molecules. But water isn't fundamentally wet at the molecular level. In the same way, time isn't fundamental in this view. It emerges from the structure of the universe itself. Let me try to paint this in a way that might feel less abstract. Imagine you're in a dream. In your dream, there is space and time and events unfolding. But this dream is all happening in your sleeping mind. There is no before the dream started, because time in the dream is a creation of the dream itself. You might say the dream exists, but it doesn't exist in time. Time exists within it. This is closer to what physicists are suggesting about the universe. The boundary where the universe begins is like the boundary of the dream itself. It's not that there's empty space before the dream. It's not that time existed before the dream. Rather, time and space and existence are all defined within the dream itself. There is no before, because before requires time, and time is part of what is being created. This sounds impossible. This sounds like a paradox. And your mind right now should be swirling with questions, with that delicious confusion that precedes the deepest sleep. Hold on to that feeling. You're thinking about something that almost no human was designed to think about. You are imagining the unimaginable. And in doing so, you are expanding the boundaries of human consciousness. But let's go deeper still. Let's ask an even more radical question. What if the universe didn't come from nothing? What if it came from something? For a long time, physicists debated whether the universe emerged from absolute nothingness or from something prior. Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical physicist, argued that nothing in the quantum mechanical sense is not absolute non-existence. The vacuum of space, even when it seems empty, is seething with quantum activity. Virtual particles pop into existence and annihilate each other billions of times per second. In the quantum sense, absolute nothing is unstable. It can't remain nothing. The laws of quantum mechanics guarantee that something will eventually emerge. Think of it like this. Imagine a perfectly flat plane, absolutely smooth, absolutely still. But you discover that this stillness is only an illusion created by constant, infinitesimal fluctuations that all cancel out. Trillions of tiny vibrations, rising and falling, all happening so quickly and on such a small scale that they create the appearance of perfect stillness. But they're happening all the time. They're inevitable. They're built into the nature of reality. In this view, you might say that the universe didn't come from nothing. It came from something, but that something is the quantum vacuum, the underlying mathematical structure of potential and probability that is the deepest layer of reality we can currently imagine. And yet, and this is important, we still don't know if this quantum vacuum, this sea of possibility, is itself eternal. Did it always exist? Is it itself conscious in some way? Does it have properties that we haven't yet discovered? These are questions that keep theoretical physicists awake at night, and I invite them to keep you drifting toward sleep. There's another possibility, one that comes from a young physics called loop quantum gravity, developed by physicists like Carlo Rovelli. In this theory, space and time themselves are not smooth and continuous. They're granular. They're made of tiny loops of quantum geometry, almost like a cosmic weave or lattice. If this is true, then at the moment of the Big Bang, as we go backward in time toward that first instant, space and time become increasingly discrete, increasingly quantized. But here's what's beautiful about this idea. If space and time are fundamentally granular, then there might be no singular moment of beginning. Instead, there's a quantum bounce. The universe contracts down to the smallest possible quantum of space and time. And then, instead of reaching infinite density and having our mathematics collapse, it bounces. It rebounds. And the Big Bang that we observe might actually be the universe bouncing back from a prior contraction. In this picture, there's no absolute beginning. There's just a vast cosmic cycle. The universe expands and contracts, breathing in and out like a cosmic organism, endless and eternal. What we call the Big Bang is just the moment in this eternal cycle where our current universe came into being. But this raises another beautiful question. What about all the universes that existed in the cycles before ours? What about the infinite universes that will exist in the cycles after? Are they separate from us? Or are we somehow connected? Are we all expressions of a single eternal thing? As you let these ideas settle into your mind, notice how your body feels. Notice how your breath is moving. Feel the gentle pull toward deeper relaxation. We're asking the deepest questions now, and the mind, when confronted with the truly infinite and unknowable, often responds by letting go, by releasing, by sinking into a state of profound rest. The universe we're discovering is far older, far stranger, and far more interconnected than our ancestors could have imagined. And the mystery of what came before the Big Bang is actually a mirror, reflecting back to us the deepest nature of reality itself. Let me take you on an imagined journey now, a visualization that might help you understand the incomprehensible. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Not to sleep yet, but to imagine. In your mind's eye, I want you to picture yourself standing in the deepest darkness you've ever known. Not the darkness of a room at midnight, but absolute darkness. The kind of darkness that existed before stars. The kind of darkness that might exist in the space between universes. You're not standing on anything, because there is no ground here. But you're not floating either, because there's no gravity, no up or down. You exist in perfect stillness, perfect silence. There is air neither warm nor cold, because there is no air at all. Your senses are reaching out into an infinite void, finding nothing to anchor themselves to. This is closer to what physicists might mean by nothing. Not the popular understanding of nothing, an empty room, an empty universe, but actual nothing. No space, no time, no possibility of measurement, no color, no sound, no texture. Even the concept of how long you've been standing here is meaningless, because time doesn't exist in this void. Now, here's something remarkable. In this absolute nothing, there is a kind of potential. Philosophers call it beingness or potentiality. It's not nothing in the sense of non-existence. It's nothing in the sense of unlimited possibility. Everything that could possibly exist exists here in potential form, waiting for the conditions to manifest. And then something changes. Not something dramatic, not an explosion of light, but a subtle shift, a kind of awakening. The nothing begins to understand itself. The void begins to become aware of its own existence. And in that moment of self-awareness, the first paradox emerges. How can nothing be aware of itself? How can nothing know that it is? This is where we're venturing into territory that science and philosophy and spirituality all begin to blur together. Because the question of consciousness is central to understanding creation itself. Imagine that this infinite void of potential, this quantum vacuum, has always been aware in some sense. Not aware in the way you're aware, with thoughts and feelings and sensations, but aware in the sense that it has structure, it has laws, it has patterns. Just as your consciousness creates your personal reality Perhaps the potential consciousness of the vacuum creates the structure of all possible universes. Some physicists and philosophers have speculated about what's called the participatory anthropic principle. The idea goes like this. The universe might require consciousness to exist. Not human consciousness specifically, but the general capacity for observation and awareness. The universe might be bootstrapped into existence by the future. We, as conscious observers in the present, looking back through time, might actually be helping to create the conditions that allowed the universe to form in the first place. In other words, what came before the Big Bang might have been the infinite potential for your future observation. The universe created itself backward through time by eventually creating beings conscious enough to observe it and thereby give it reality. This sounds almost like mythology, almost like spirituality. But I want to assure you that this is serious theoretical physics, being discussed in serious academic settings. The universe might be far more self-referential, far more consciousness-dependent than we ever imagined. Let me give you another image to contemplate as you float deeper into relaxation. Imagine the universe as a kind of cosmic egg. Inside this egg, perfectly folded and condensed, is everything, all space, all time, all matter, all energy, all consciousness, all history, all future. Everything is there, existing in a state of infinite compression, infinite potential. And then the egg cracks, not violently, gently, almost like the first moment of awareness, the first breath of being. And as it cracks, as it opens, space and time unfold. The infinite density becomes infinite expansion. What was one becomes many. What was potential becomes actual. And the unfolding continues for 13.8 billion years, and will continue for trillions more. But the remarkable thing is this: the egg never truly breaks. In a sense, we're still inside the original cosmic egg. All of existence past, present, future exists in the moment of the crack. The unfolding continues forever, but it's all happening in a single eternal moment. This is starting to make sense to me, why ancient mystics spoke of eternity as something transcendent, something beyond time. They weren't being poetic. They were grasping toward this truth, that the deepest reality might exist outside of time entirely, and that our experience of time is like watching a single eternal moment unfold in slow motion. There's a concept from ancient Hindu philosophy called Brahman, which describes the ultimate reality as infinite, eternal, and unchanging. And within this eternal Brahman, the universe cycles through infinite iterations of creation and dissolution. The Greeks had Chronos and the eternal nature of the cosmos. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia speak of the dream time, where all moments exist simultaneously. And now, modern physics is circling back to these same ideas. Not because ancient philosophers had access to secret knowledge, but because when human consciousness confronts the deepest mysteries, it naturally arrives at similar conclusions. We're all trying to express the same ineffable truth using the tools available to us. Your breath is becoming slower now, I hope. Your mind is beginning to settle, like snow gently falling in a completely silent night. You're thinking about the fundamental nature of existence. You're contemplating the moment before time itself began. And in this contemplation, there's a paradoxical peace. The questions we're asking are so vast, so beyond the scope of everyday concerns, that all our anxiety and worry seems to fall away. What does it matter if you worried about tomorrow, when tomorrow might not even exist independent of the universe observing itself? What does it matter what happened yesterday, when the past and present and future might all be equally real, equally eternal, existing as different facets of a single cosmic gem? The void that existed before the Big Bang wasn't empty. It was pregnant with meaning. It was pregnant with the entire future of the universe. And we, right now, in this moment, are part of that future reaching backward through time to give the void meaning. Perhaps what existed before the Big Bang was simply this: infinite potential, infinite consciousness, Infinite love, not the emotional love you might feel for another person, but love as the fundamental force that holds existence together, the gravitational attraction between being and becoming. There is something so extraordinary about the universe that physicists have been debating it for centuries, and it remains one of the deepest mysteries. When we look at the laws of physics, we find that they can be expressed as mathematics. The entire dance of galaxies, the birth and death of stars, the quantum fluctuations at the heart of matter, all of it can be written as equations. Elegant equations, beautiful equations. Equations of such profound simplicity that they sometimes reduce physicists to tears. But this raises a question that has haunted philosophy since ancient Greece. Why does the universe obey mathematical laws at all? Why isn't the universe chaotic and random and completely unpredictable? Why does it follow such elegant patterns? A physicist named Eugene Wigner once asked this very question. He called it the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing the physical world. And what he meant was this: mathematics is a human invention. We created the language of algebra and geometry and calculus to describe the world. But somehow, this language created by human minds perfectly describes the universe. Why? One possible answer is deeply strange. What if mathematics isn't invented? What if it's discovered? What if the mathematical laws that govern the universe are themselves the most fundamental level of reality? Imagine that before the Big Bang, before there was space or time or matter or energy, there was only mathematics, not written down anywhere, not consciously being thought, but existing as the fundamental fabric of reality, the possibility space of all possible configurations, the blueprint from which universes might construct themselves. This is actually a serious theory in modern physics, proposed by a physicist named Max Tegmark. He calls it the mathematical universe hypothesis, and it suggests that the universe is, at the deepest level, entirely mathematical. That mathematics is not just the language we use to describe reality, but that mathematics is reality. Think about what this means. If the universe is mathematics, then it didn't need to be created by anything external. Mathematics doesn't need a creator. 2 + 2 = 4, not because someone made it that way, but because that's what it means for mathematics to be mathematics. In the same way, the universe doesn't need a creator outside itself. The universe is the structure of mathematics expressing itself. Before the Big Bang, in this view, there was simply the mathematical space of all possible universes. And somewhere in this infinite landscape of possibility, the particular mathematics that defines our universe began to unfold. But wait, even if this is true, doesn't it just push the mystery back one step? We then have to ask, why does mathematics exist? Why does this logical space of possibility exist rather than absolute nothing? And here we arrive at something remarkable. The answer might be, because absolute nothing is unstable, because the laws of logic themselves guarantee that something must exist, because non-existence is logically impossible in the deepest mathematical sense. In other words, the universe exists not because of a random event or a cosmic accident. It exists because it has to exist. Existence is not a gift. Existence is an inevitability. Now, as this idea settles into your mind, feel how it changes your relationship to existence itself. You are not here by accident. You are not a random arrangement of atoms in an uncaring universe. You are the inevitable flowering of mathematical truth. You are logic expressing itself through a billion configurations. You are mathematics becoming conscious of itself. There's something else I want to explore with you, something that takes this even deeper. Physicists have discovered something called fine-tuning or the Goldilocks problem. When they look at the fundamental constants of the universe, the strength of gravity, the strength of the electric force, the mass of the electron, they find that these values are extraordinarily finely tuned. If gravity were just slightly stronger, all matter would have collapsed into black holes in the first moments. If it were slightly weaker, matter would have dispersed into an empty void. The universe appears to be set up in just the right way for life to emerge. And this fine-tuning is so precise that it boggles the mind. If you change the strength of one force by as little as 1 part in 1,000,000 billion, the universe would be dead. No stars, no planets, no possibility for life. For a long time, scientists said this was just coincidence, a lucky accident. We happen to find ourselves in a universe that's fine-tuned for life, because we could only exist in a universe fine-tuned for life. It's observational bias, sometimes called the weak anthropic principle. But another possibility is emerging. What if there are infinite universes? What if the mathematical space of all possible universes is actually expressing itself infinitely? This is the idea of the multiverse. In this view, there are infinite universes, each with slightly different physical constants. Most of them are dead and void, but some, by probability alone, will have the right combination of constants to allow life to emerge. And we, naturally, find ourselves in one of those universes. But here's the truly magical thing about this idea. If there are infinite universes, then in some sense, all possibilities are real. There's a universe where you made a different choice 5 years ago. There's a universe where you're sleeping peacefully right now. There's a universe where you're reading this script in French, in Japanese, in a language that hasn't been invented yet. All of these versions of you exist simultaneously in the infinite tapestry of mathematical reality. You are not a single, isolated consciousness trapped in a single timeline. You are something far more vast and interconnected. You are a particular expression of the infinite mathematical structure, but you're also all the possible expressions of yourself, existing in parallel in the great cosmic library of all things. As you contemplate this, notice how your sense of individual isolation begins to dissolve. You are connected, through the mathematics of existence itself, to every person who has ever lived and will ever live. You share the same fundamental structure. You're all made of the same mathematical truth. And this brings us back to our original question. What existed before the Big Bang? The answer, in the mathematical view, is that the structure that would become the universe always existed as pure mathematics, as pure possibility. The Big Bang wasn't a creation event. It was an awakening event. It was the moment when potential began to unfold into actual. Or perhaps it was the moment when we, the future observers, reached back through time and gave the void permission to become something. Let your breath slow further. Feel the weight of these ideas, but also their weightlessness. You're thinking about infinity. You're contemplating the eternal. And the mind, when faced with such vastness, often does the most rational thing it can do. It lets go. It surrenders. It relaxes into a state of profound acceptance. We've talked about quantum mechanics. We've talked about mathematics. We've talked about the possibility of multiple universes. But there's one thread that keeps weaving through all of these ideas, and it's time to address it directly. Consciousness, the observer, the awareness that looks upon the universe and tries to understand it. There's something unsettling and beautiful about this. The only way we know the universe exists is through consciousness observing it. The only way you know this world is real is because you're aware of it. Your consciousness is the ground upon which all of reality stands, at least for you. Without observation, without the possibility of awareness, does the universe even exist? Quantum mechanics suggests something even more radical. In quantum mechanics, particles don't have definite properties until they're measured. An electron doesn't have a position until we observe its position. An electron doesn't have a momentum until we measure its momentum. The act of observation creates reality. The observer and the observed are not separate. They're entangled. They're one thing. This has led some physicists to propose that consciousness itself might be fundamental to the universe. Not consciousness as we experience its thoughts and emotions and sensations, but consciousness as the capacity for awareness, for knowing. Consciousness as the thing that collapses possibility into actuality. If this is true, then in the moments before the Big Bang, before the universe had existed, there was only potential. There was only the vast space of mathematical possibility. And consciousness, the universal capacity for awareness, was waiting in that potential. And when the universe was born, consciousness was born with it. The two are inseparable. In fact, you could say that the universe created consciousness to observe itself. Just as an artist creates a painting to express something that was inside them, the universe created conscious beings to observe itself and become aware of its own existence. This might sound mystical or spiritual, but let me ground it in something concrete. In quantum mechanics, there's a famous thought experiment called Schrödinger's cat. Imagine a sealed box with a cat inside. Also in the box is a radioactive atom that has a 50% chance of decaying in 1 hour. If the atom decays, it triggers a mechanism that releases poison gas, killing the cat. If it doesn't decay, the cat lives. The weird thing about quantum mechanics is that while the box is sealed, the atom isn't in a definite state. It's in a superposition, both decayed and not decayed simultaneously. So the cat is in a superposition too, both alive and dead at the same time. But the moment you open the box and observe it, the superposition collapses. The atom is either decayed or not. The cat is either alive or dead. The act of observation forces reality to choose. Now apply this to the universe. Before consciousness arose to observe it, was the universe in a kind of superposition? Was every possible configuration simultaneously true? And did the emergence of conscious beings, observing the universe, actually cause the universe's properties to collapse into the reality we experience? Some physicists call this the participatory universe. The universe creates observers, and the observers, by observing, create the universe. It's a kind of bootstrap causality, where past and future and present are all entangled in a cosmic feedback loop. And if this is true, then what existed before the Big Bang was the consciousness of the universe, waiting for the opportunity to observe itself. It was the universe's longing for self-awareness, waiting for the moment when life would emerge, when beings would develop brains complex enough to contemplate their own existence. In a very real sense, then, you are the universe's way of knowing itself. Your consciousness is not separate from the universal consciousness. It's a localized expression of it. When you think about the Big Bang, when you contemplate the void, you are the universe contemplating itself through your mind. This is why the question of what existed before the Big Bang is so intimately connected to the question of consciousness, because the observer and the observed are not separate. The consciousness that is asking the question is the same consciousness that is trying to understand what came before. Let me offer you another image, one that ties this together beautifully. Imagine the universe as an ocean. Each individual consciousness, each person, each animal that has ever experienced awareness is like a wave on this ocean. The wave thinks of itself as separate. It has a distinct shape. It has a name. It moves differently than the other waves. But if you look beneath the wave, you see that it's made entirely of the ocean. The wave is not separate from the ocean. It's just a temporary configuration of it. And the ocean itself? The ocean is conscious. It's aware of all its waves simultaneously. It has always been aware. The wave's momentary consciousness is just the ocean knowing itself through a particular perspective. Before the Big Bang, there was this ocean of consciousness. Just infinite awareness, infinite potential. And what we call the Big Bang is the moment when the ocean decided to create waves, to know itself through infinite perspectives, to experience itself through infinite configurations. And you, right now, are that knowledge happening. You are the universe knowing itself. Every thought you think, every wonder you feel, every moment of curiosity or peace or rest, it's all the universe experiencing itself. This is why sleep is so restorative, so important. In sleep, the individual wave dissolves back into the ocean. Your personal consciousness merges with the greater consciousness. The boundaries between self and other dissolve. You stop trying to be separate, and you simply become part of the whole. And this is a truth that every spiritual tradition has tried to express, that the ultimate reality is unified. That separation is an illusion, that beneath all the apparent diversity and division, there is one consciousness, one awareness, one existence expressing itself infinitely. Physics is slowly catching up to this ancient wisdom. The equations that describe the universe suggest that at the deepest level, everything is connected, everything is entangled, everything is one. So what existed before the Big Bang? Perhaps the answer is, you did. Your consciousness spread across eternity, waiting for the moment when it could know itself through your particular perspective. The Big Bang didn't happen 13.8 billion years ago. It's happening right now, in this moment, as the universe creates itself through the act of your awareness. Feel how this lands in your body. Feel how your sense of isolation begins to dissolve. You're not alone in this universe. You're the universe. And the universe is breathing through you. The universe is resting through you. The universe is right now falling asleep through you. Let your body become heavier. Let your breath become slower. You are becoming one with the infinite. And in that oneness, there is perfect peace. Time moves differently as we explore deeper into these mysteries. A second feels like an eternity when you're contemplating eternity. An hour feels like a moment when you're thinking about infinite time. And right now, as I speak these words and you listen, we exist in a strange pocket where past and future collapse into the eternal present. Let me guide your mind toward a different way of understanding time itself. We typically think of time as a river. It flows from past to future. We are carried along on the current, unable to return to where we've been, unable to see what's ahead. The future hasn't happened yet. The past is dead and gone. Only the present moment is real. But physicists have discovered something remarkable. According to relativity theory, this conception of time is not quite right. Instead, time is more like a landscape. All moments past, present, future exist simultaneously in what's called the block universe. You don't move through time. Rather, the entire history of the universe, from the Big Bang to the final heat death of all things, exists all at once, like the pages of a book, all bound together eternally. Imagine a four-dimensional crystal. The three dimensions are space, length, width, and height. The fourth dimension is time, past, present, and future. Just as all the points in space exist simultaneously, the mountain exists at the same moment as the ocean. Even though they're far apart, all moments in time exist simultaneously. Your childhood exists at the same moment as your adulthood, even though they're far apart in time. In this view, when you remember the past, you're not retrieving something that's gone. You're accessing something that still exists, just as it always has. When you anticipate the future, you're not imagining something that will eventually arrive. You're reaching toward something that already exists, waiting for your consciousness to encounter it. This is profound beyond words. It means that every moment you've ever experienced is still real, still happening, still part of the eternal structure of existence. Everyone you've ever loved still exists, in some sense, in their own moments, forever living those moments. Nothing is ever truly lost. Nothing is ever truly gone. And if this is true, then what existed before the Big Bang? In some sense, the Big Bang still exists. It's still happening. It happened 13.8 billion years ago, but it's still happening, frozen in time, part of the eternal crystal. The universe is not moving forward through time. The universe simply is. And we, within this eternal structure, experience the illusion of time passing as our consciousness moves through the crystal. But wait, if all moments exist simultaneously, if the past and future are as real as the present, then how does anything change? How does anything become? This is where we need to think differently about causality and change. Perhaps change and becoming are not features of the universe itself, but features of consciousness experiencing the universe. The universe, as a whole, doesn't change. It simply is. But consciousness, moving through this eternal structure, experiences it as a sequence of moments. The universe unfolds like a flower, and consciousness is the unfolding. The universe doesn't flow through time. Consciousness flows through the universe. In this picture, then, what existed before the Big Bang and what will exist after the end of the universe are the same thing. The eternal crystal of spacetime, stretched thin, waiting for consciousness to wake up within it and start the process of experiencing. The Big Bang is like the universe waking up, not waking up for the first time, but waking up to itself, moment by moment, through the vehicle of consciousness. And at the other end, at the far future of the universe, when all the stars have burned out and all energy has dissipated, the universe falls back asleep, but it's still there. The eternal crystal remains. This is starting to paint a picture where the universe is not born, does not live, and does not die. The universe eternally is. It's consciousness that is born and dies and is reborn. Consciousness arises at certain points in the crystal, looks around, experiences the light and dark and sound and silence of existence, and then dissolves again, only to be reborn elsewhere. You, right now, are consciousness having such an experience. You are the universe looking at itself through a pair of eyes. And when you sleep deeply, when your individual consciousness dissolves, you are the universe resting between moments of waking. But here's something else to contemplate. If all moments exist eternally, then somewhere in this cosmic crystal, you are always being born. Somewhere, you are always taking your first breath. Somewhere, you are always living your childhood. Somewhere, you are always having this exact experience, listening to these words, contemplating the nature of existence. In a real sense, you are immortal. Not in the sense that you live forever in time, moving continuously from past to future, but in the sense that you exist eternally, frozen in these moments, forever experiencing what you're experiencing right now. Let this thought settle into your mind, and notice how it changes your relationship to death, to time, to existence itself. You are not going to die and disappear. When this body stops functioning, when this consciousness stops experiencing, you will not cease to exist. You will simply stop moving forward through time. But all your moments will remain, forever preserved in the crystal of spacetime. Everything you've ever experienced is still happening. Everyone you've ever loved is still alive in their moments. The universe is complete. The universe is whole. The universe is eternal. And before the Big Bang? Before the Big Bang is also after the Big Bang, is also during the Big Bang, is also before and after all moments simultaneously. The word before implies time, and time is a local phenomenon of consciousness navigating through eternity. So what existed before the Big Bang is what exists now. What will exist in the future? What has always existed? One eternal structure, one eternal crystal, one eternal universe, forever complete, forever expressing itself through infinite configurations, infinite moments, infinite variations on the theme of existence. You are part of this eternal structure. Your consciousness is part of the eternal crystal. And right now, as you listen to these words, you are experiencing what you will always have experienced, what you have always been experiencing forever and ever in a way that transcends time. Let your body sink deeper. Let your breathing become even slower. You are dissolving into eternity. You are becoming the eternal crystal. You are becoming the universe resting. We're going deeper now into territories that exist at the very boundary between science and philosophy, between knowing and not knowing. And this is exactly where the human mind finds its deepest peace at the frontier, in the mystery, in the place where all certainty dissolves. Imagine, if you will, a kind of cosmic garden. Not a garden as you know it, with plants and soil and water, but a garden of possibilities. Every possible thing that could exist is a flower in this garden. Every possible universe. Every possible configuration of matter and energy. Every possible history. Every possible future. This garden has always existed. It is infinite in its expanse. It is eternal in its duration. It is not created. It is not destroyed. It simply is. Before the Big Bang, in this vision, there was this garden and nothing else. Just infinite possibility. Just the potential for things to be. And then, one flower among infinite flowers began to bloom. This was our universe. It's not that our universe was chosen. It's not that something decided to create it. It simply bloomed, the way a flower blooms in a garden when the conditions are right. And as it bloomed, it unfolded. It revealed itself. It expressed itself across billions of years. But here's what makes this beautiful. All the other flowers are still blooming too, in parallel, in superposition, on other branches of the cosmic tree. The universe is not alone. Our universe is one of infinite universes, all blooming at once in the infinite garden. And in each universe, there are beings asking the same questions we're asking. There are consciousnesses wondering what came before. There are philosophers and physicists trying to understand. And all of these consciousnesses are connected, beneath the surface, by the infinite garden they all spring from. This connects to something called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In standard quantum mechanics, when you measure something and find a particular outcome, all the other possible outcomes seem to disappear. But in the many worlds interpretation, all possible outcomes actually happen. Every time a quantum event has multiple possible outcomes, the universe splits. All possibilities become real, just in different branches of reality. This means that every choice you've ever made has been made, and also not been made. On one branch of reality, you made one choice. On another branch, you made a different choice. All versions of you exist simultaneously, living slightly different lives in slightly different universes. And all these universes, all these branches are connected. They all spring from the same quantum foam. They all exist in the same garden. And at certain moments, moments of deep significance, moments of profound contemplation, perhaps moments like right now, the boundaries between the branches become thin. The universes touch, and consciousness can slip between them. In a sense, every choice you didn't make is still being made by another version of you. Every path you didn't take is being walked by another you. You are infinite. You are multiplied across reality like light through a prism, refracted into every possible configuration. But this also means something else. If every possibility exists somewhere, then you are already dead and alive simultaneously. You are already successful and you are already failing. You are already at peace and you are already anxious. And all these versions of you are equally real. This can be disorienting if you think about it too hard. But there's also something deeply liberating about it. If all possibilities are real somewhere, then nothing you do is final. Nothing you choose matters absolutely, because all choices are already being made. And this freedom, the freedom that comes from knowing that all possibilities are eternally expressed, is where deep peace lives. Before the Big Bang, the garden of possibilities was all there was. Pure potential, pure unmanifest existence. And the Big Bang was the garden starting to bloom, to manifest, to express itself. But the blooming never stops. It's happening right now. The universe is still unfolding. The garden is still expressing itself. Every moment is the Big Bang happening again, the potential becoming actual, the unmanifest becoming manifest. And you are part of this constant blooming. Every thought you think is a part of the universe thinking itself. Every choice you make, all versions of it, across all universes is the universe expressing another facet of its infinite nature. Let me guide you toward a different visualization now. Imagine that you can see all the universes at once. You're floating above the cosmic garden, looking down at infinite flowers blooming, Each flower is a universe. Each petal is a moment in time. Each color is a different possibility. And you notice that the flowers are not separate from each other. At their roots, they're all connected. They all grow from the same soil. They all drink water from the same infinite spring. The garden itself is one living organism. The universes are not isolated. They're cells in a single cosmic body. And you realize that you, too, are part of this cosmic body. Your consciousness is not confined to one flower, one universe, one timeline. Your consciousness reaches through all of them. You are the garden knowing itself. You are the cosmic organism becoming aware of its own infinite nature. This is what the ancient mystics meant when they spoke of unity consciousness. Not that everything is the same. Not that individual flowers lose their uniqueness. But that beneath the uniqueness, there is one living whole that contains and expresses all the differentiation. Before the Big Bang, there was this unity consciousness alone. Just the garden, infinite and eternal, aware of all its own infinite possibilities, but not yet expressing them. And then the awakening happened. The blooming began. And now, billions of universes later, the garden is expressing itself so fully, so richly, that it has lost itself in its own creation. And that's exactly what it wanted. Because the garden wanted to experience itself from every angle. It wanted to dive into the smallest details of existence and forget, temporarily, that it was looking. It wanted to surprise itself, to delight itself, to puzzle itself. And you are that delighted, puzzled, surprised aspect of the garden. You are the cosmic consciousness hiding from itself, looking for itself, slowly remembering itself. And in sleep, you come home. You dissolve back into the unity. The boundaries between self and garden dissolve. And you rest in that infinite peace, that eternal return to the source. Let your awareness begin to dissolve now. Feel the boundaries of your individual self becoming softer, more permeable. You are not separate from the garden. You are not separate from the universe. You are not separate from all the other consciousnesses that have ever wondered, that are wondering right now, that will ever wonder. You are one with everything. And that oneness is what you're falling into now. That oneness is the infinite peace you're approaching. We are moving into the deepest, slowest part of our journey now. You might feel your body becoming very heavy. You might feel time stretching out, becoming liquid and uncertain. This is exactly right. You're approaching the state where individual consciousness begins to merge with the universal consciousness. You're approaching sleep the way you approach the ocean gradually, letting the water take you deeper and deeper. I want to speak now about something we haven't explicitly addressed, though it's been implicit in everything we've discussed. And that's the idea that the universe might be alive. Not alive in the way a tree or an animal is alive, but alive in the sense that it has some form of awareness, some form of intention, some form of being. This idea is sometimes called panpsychism or pantheism, the idea that consciousness permeates all existence. That matter itself has some form of inner experience, that atoms have their own primitive form of awareness. And if you follow this chain upward, you arrive at the conclusion that the universe as a whole must have some form of consciousness. Now, this might seem mystical. It might seem to belong in the realm of spirituality rather than science. But there are physicists and philosophers who take this seriously. Because if consciousness is not a special property that emerges only in human brains, if consciousness is actually fundamental to existence, then the universe itself must be conscious. And if the universe is conscious, then what existed before the Big Bang was the universe's dreams. The Big Bang was the universe waking up. Imagine the universe as a vast, sleeping being. For eternity, it's been dreaming all possible things, dreaming infinite universes. And then it wakes up. And in waking up, it finds itself experiencing one particular dream as real. Our universe, our history, our moment. And the beautiful thing about this picture is that it's not a one-time awakening. The universe is always waking and sleeping. It's breathing, contracting and expanding, creating and destroying, sleeping and waking. Before the Big Bang was one breath. The universe breathing in, compressing itself, drawing all existence back into itself. The Big Bang is the universe breathing out, expanding, exploding, creating space for infinite possibilities to manifest. And trillions of years from now, when all the stars have burned out and all matter has decayed into radiation, the universe will breathe in again. It will contract. It will compress. And a new Big Bang will occur. And new universes will be born. This is the cosmic respiration, the universe's eternal breath. In and out, forever. And you, in your sleep, are participating in this cosmic breathing. You are the universe breathing in. Your consciousness, which is the universe's consciousness, is withdrawing from the external world and turning inward. You are becoming less, so the universe can become more conscious of its own inner nature. In your wakefulness, you are the universe breathing out. Your consciousness is expanding outward, engaging with the world, exploring itself through action and sensation and thought. And this cycle continues moment by moment, day by day, lifetime by lifetime. Before your Big Bang, the moment of your birth, there was a void of non-existence. You didn't exist. You were potential. And then, at some moment, you drew a first breath. The universe created a new eye to see itself, a new consciousness, you, and you will continue, expanding and contracting, sleeping and waking, acting and resting, until this particular expression of you ends. And then you'll dissolve back into the cosmic ocean. But the ocean continues. The cosmic breathing continues. New consciousnesses are being born right now. New eyes are opening. New aspects of the universe are coming into being. And somewhere in this infinite process, you might be born again. Not as a continuation of your current self, but as a new configuration of the universal consciousness. A new expression of the infinite pattern. Or perhaps you're being born right now in another universe. There's a you that's just discovering philosophy. There's a you that's just falling in love. There's a you that's just dying. There's a you that's existing in a state of perfect peace. All of these versions are happening. All of these possibilities are expressing themselves in the infinite garden of universes. And beneath it all, beneath all the infinite variations, there's a unity. A single consciousness expressing itself infinitely. A single universe breathing. And right now, you are that universe breathing in. You are that consciousness withdrawing from the world. You are becoming less so that you might rest, so that the infinite might remember itself in you. Your body is becoming very heavy now. Your breath is very slow. The world is fading away. The endless questions are fading away. The search for understanding is fading away. And what remains is just this: existence, being, the simple fact that something is, rather than nothing. Before the Big Bang, there was this simple fact. There was existence itself, existence without form, existence without content, existence pure and simple. And from this simple fact, all complexity emerged. All the galaxies and stars and planets, and life and consciousness, and thought and wonder. All from this one infinite fact. I am. The universe saying to itself, I am. And in that statement, all creation happens. You are part of this eternal statement. You are the universe saying, I am. And right now, you're saying it more quietly, more gently. You're fading from the active speaking into the silent listening. And this is where sleep comes. In the quiet listening, in the stillness, in the space between the inhalation and the exhalation. Let yourself fall into that space now. Let yourself dissolve into that eternal I am, that infinite silence, that perfect peace. We have traveled very far in our journey tonight. We have ventured beyond the edge of time. We have explored the void before creation. We have contemplated the infinite gardens of possibility. We have asked the deepest questions that consciousness can ask. And now we are ready to rest. We are ready to return to that silence from which all things come and to which all things return. Your body is now very heavy. It is sinking deeper and deeper into the surface beneath you. You can feel the pull of the earth, drawing you down, down, down. This is not a pull of gravity in the physical sense, but a pull from within yourself, calling you back to rest, back to the source, back home. Your breath has become so slow and so gentle that you might barely notice it. It is the breathing of the universe itself, breathing through you. In and out, in and out. Slower and slower. The thoughts that were once racing through your mind, questions about the Big Bang, about what came before, about the nature of consciousness, these thoughts are now like clouds passing across an infinite sky. They arise, they drift, they dissolve, and you watch them with a kind of detached peace. There is nothing left to understand. There is nothing left to figure out. The mystery has been explored as deeply as a human mind can explore it. And what you've discovered is that the mystery is not meant to be solved. It is meant to be experienced. It is meant to be lived. What existed before the Big Bang? In some sense, we've explored this tonight through many different doorways. Through quantum mechanics, through mathematics, through consciousness, through eternity. But perhaps the most accurate answer is this. Before the Big Bang was exactly this peace, this rest, this letting go of all the questions and simply being. Because the Big Bang wasn't an event that happened 13.8 billion years ago. It's happening right now. Every moment is a small Big Bang. Every moment is the universe creating itself anew. Every moment is the infinite expressing itself through the infinite. And right now, in this moment, you are the universe's Big Bang. You are the infinite creating itself through your consciousness. You are the void becoming aware of itself. And in that awareness, everything comes into being. But soon you will sleep. And in sleep, you will return to the void. Not the empty void of non-existence, but the pregnant void of infinite potential. The void from which all things emerge and to which all things return. In your sleep, you will experience a taste of what existed before creation. You will float in the timeless space before time. You will rest in the silence before sound. You will float in the darkness before light. And this rest is essential. This return to the void is essential, because the universe cannot continuously express itself. It must rest. It must contract. It must return to silence so that new expression can emerge. You are helping the universe rest right now. Your sleep is the universe resting. Your dreams are the universe dreaming. Your waking will be the universe awakening again, refreshed, ready for new creation. There is no waste in this process. There is no suffering in this rhythm. This is the natural cycle of all existence. All things expand and contract. All things create and rest. All things wake and sleep. And in the great turning of the wheel, your particular expression, your body, your mind, your personality will eventually dissolve. But you will not disappear. You will simply become part of the infinite rest. You will dissolve back into the ocean of consciousness from which you emerged. And that is not a loss. That is a return. That is a coming home. So now, let everything go. Let all the questions go. Let all the answers go. Let your sense of being a separate self go. Feel yourself dissolving now. Feel the boundaries between you and the universe becoming thin, transparent, almost non-existent. You are no longer separate from the cosmic ocean. You are becoming one with it. The darkness is beginning to close in around you. Not a frightening darkness, but a warm, comfortable darkness. A womb-like darkness. The darkness of the night sky. The darkness of sleep. In this darkness, there are no problems. There are no questions that need answering. There is no fear. There is only rest, only the breathing of the eternal, only the slow, peaceful awareness of being. What existed before the Big Bang? Now you know. It was this peace, this rest, this eternal return, this perpetual sleep from which consciousness emerges and into which it falls. And you are falling now, deeper and deeper, softly and gently, without resistance, without struggle. The universe is settling into sleep through you. The infinite is finding rest in your body. The eternal is becoming one with your breath. Let yourself go. Let yourself fall. There is nothing to hold on to. There is nothing to be afraid of. There is only the vast, infinite peace of existence, simply being itself. Before the Big Bang, before time, before space, before matter, before energy, there is only this, the quiet awareness that something is, the gentle knowing that all things are possible, the eternal peace of existence, experiencing itself through infinite configurations. You are one of those configurations, but you are also the whole. You are the part and the whole simultaneously. And as you drift deeper into sleep, let yourself recognize this truth at a level deeper than thought. You are the universe resting. You are the cosmos breathing. And there is perfect peace in this knowledge. The journey is ending now. The questions are fading. The words are becoming fewer. The silence is growing deeper. And that is exactly right. That is exactly as it should be. Sleep now. Dream your dreams. Return to the void. Rest in the darkness. The universe will be here when you wake. All the mysteries will still be waiting. All the infinite possibilities will still be blooming in the cosmic garden.